On this video, I'll be showing you how to set up Hangfire and showing you how to use it. So just to kind of give you a brief what's Hangfire here, you can go to the Hangfire.io website. So Hangfire is an easy way to perform background processing in .NET and .NET Core applications. So no Windows services or separate process is required. So the way this works is, let's just say if you have a task that needs to run on a server for a reason, so you have to create a a console app or something, and then you got to schedule on your task manager. On a task scheduler to run. So Hangfire is going to help you not having to do that. You can actually use your own code, and you can run on the same server that you're running your web application. All right, let's get started. So just to be clear, in order to start, I'm just kind of gonna go over the items that we're gonna be using. I'm gonna be using Microsoft Visual Studio, also SQL Server Management Studios, and I'm gonna show you how to download the DLLs for Hangfire and some additional DLLs in order to get you up and running. Okay. So let's get started. The very first thing that you got to make sure you do is go to your SQL Server or your database, whatever you're going to be using. Make sure you create a Hangfire DB. You can name whatever you want. All we need on the Hangfire DB, it's just the database. Hangfire itself will create the tables for you once the very first time you initialize it. So, all right, let's get to it. All right, let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio. Create a new project. On this one, I'm going to use ASP.NET Web Applications.NET framework. Okay, and Hangfire test. Create. You can really create with any of these. I'm gonna ahead and create on under Web API. It's a bit cleaner to do it. All right, let's give it a second here. All right, so the very first steps are to download the references, to download the Hangfire have references and some additional references to make your API work on this case, right? So the very first one, it's going to be, let's go ahead and go to references, right click the references. Just another thing I forgot to mention. I'm using my Microsoft Visual Studio's 2019, but I'm pretty sure the old version do have that. So go ahead and manage NuGet packages. So the very first reference that we're going to install, you just type Hangfire, Hangfire, and make sure you download the Hangfire.Core version. I'll put these in the description below. Go ahead and click install, select it and click install. And you also need the Hangfire.SqlServer, which is the one right underneath, but just wait until this install it's done here. Okay, it's done. Go ahead and click on the next one and go ahead and install. It should be Hangfire.SqlServer. This is if you're using SQL Server, of course. On this case, for the example, we are using it. Okay. The next DLL we need is gonna be Microsoft.Owin. Go ahead and do a search. And you're gonna download Microsoft.Owin.Host.SystemWeb. The reason for this is we're gonna have to create a startup class, and we need that startup class to initialize the Hangfire dashboard. Okay. So in terms of dependencies, we are all done. You can go ahead and close. You can go ahead and close this. And close this, and let's go ahead and get the startup class set up. Okay, very first thing we need to do on the project itself is go ahead and right click the app_start on the web API, click add and click add Owin class, add startup Owin startup class. Click OK. Once the startup class is completed, let's go ahead and run. Make sure the startup class it's up and running. I'm just gonna do a console.writeLine here. I know there's not. I just want to show you guys we're hitting the spot here when we run it. because we need this to be functional, right? We need the startup class. We need the startup class to be working. Okay, so yeah, so it's startup class. It is working. All right. So that's the very first step. All right. So let's start setting up the Hangfire configurations. First of all, make sure you already have a server. Make sure you have a SQL Server database set up with a user, right? Just a database. You don't need anything else, right? Just go ahead and create a database, a new database on your SQL Server, right? And then make sure you have go ahead and set up a connection string for it. I already have a connection string set up for mine. It's, you know, local, a basic local host, Hangfire DB, as you can see here. I'll show you here. So it's the Hangfire DB. You shouldn't have any tables or anything. Just make sure there's a basic permissions to create tables and insert stuff in the table, right? Insert data in the table. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing is Hangfire. We're gonna type Hangfire.globalconfiguration.configuration.use. Hold on. All right, so probably gonna need a probably gonna have to include it anyways. All right, use SQL Server storage, and then you put your connection string in there. All right, let's go ahead and see what's complaining about here, and then you can. It's probably going to be a reference to Hangfire. Okay, there you go. Once you set the reference to the Hangfire, it should be no errors there. So what this line of code is doing is it's going to check this, you know, database that you initialize here. It's going to check if there's a prereqs, you know, the tables, whatever, the store procedures, everything for Hangfire to work. Okay. If it doesn't have it, it's going to create it for you. The very first time it creates everything for you. This is pretty nice. Pretty nice. All right. So let's go ahead and so now we're going to set up the dashboard so we can see what it looks like. So we can see our data or tasks being created, or tasks being triggered. And we're going to set up the server itself. So we need a server to run all this, right? So it's pretty easy. As we created the startup class here, there's an app object here. Just go ahead and click app.use Hangfire Dashboard. This initializes the dashboard. Then for this, you know, it's a simple example. The Hangfire dashboard is going to be hosted on /Hangfire. That's it. That's how we're gonna hit it. All right. Now to initialize the server itself, use Hangfire server, and that's all we need. Okay. So this is the basic steps. This is the basic steps to get Hangfire up and running on your web API. Right. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, as you can see here, you already hit here. So initialize the dashboard and initialize the server. Let's go ahead and keep running. All right, so the way to access the Hangfire, as you can see here, it's /Hangfire right after the URL. So let's go ahead and /Hangfire and hit enter. There you go. This is your Hangfire dashboard. This is where the jobs are going to be, all the in-queue jobs, the scheduled jobs, the processing, the succeed jobs, the failed, the deleted, and awaiting. This is the retry. In case a job fails, I believe Hangfire tries for about 10 times. And if it still fails, it goes to fail jobs. And recurring jobs, these are the jobs, these are the scheduled jobs. Let's say if you have a job scheduled every 2 hours, every 3 hours, they're going to show up here. In server, this is our server, like our current server, the server that's running this web API and the Hangfire. Right now, it's in, you know, my desktop. Okay. All right. So this is the basic steps of creating and setting up Hangfire on your web API.net. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and set some jobs here. It's going to be pretty simple and quick. Okay. I'm going to head and take this console, just make it clean a little bit here. All right. All right, so first step is I'm gonna create a new class, right? It doesn't really matter. You guys can use whatever it's in here. I like to keep things separate a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a new class. I'm gonna call it Hangfire Logic. Hit enter. Okay. All right. The very first thing I'm gonna do, okay, it's create a function for it to run now. Okay, no, you know what? Before, yeah, for it to run now. So public run now. Okay, this is gonna be when you have Hangfire run it, it's gonna run right away. There's no schedule, there's no anything. So BackgroundJob. So basically, when you see this, make sure you hover it. It's gonna ask you to use Hangfire.Enqueue. All right. Before we do this, let's create another class. Let's say if you have a class, right? I like to call a Hangfire module. So this will be the class with the functions that you want to run. Okay. Oops. All right. I gotta take this out of here. Let's start this over, right? Finish this. All right, there we go. Hangfire module, right? I like to separate things a little bit. So these are going to be the classes that we want to run, right? For example, let's create a class. Let's create a function here. Public void print to console. It's a simple class, right? Okay. And now it's going to do is console.writeLine, and let's do a test line here. Okay. So what this is the only thing that's going to do for now, right? And then all right, the run now. So let's go back to the run now. We're gonna BackgroundJob.Enqueue, and we're gonna enqueue this function Hangfire module, right? And we're gonna actually call. We're gonna call the print. Oops, I misspelled print to console function, and that's going to be it. Okay, but just so you guys understand, the background.enqueue runs basically runs the function right away, right? But just so you're clear, Hangfire calls the function itself, right? So let's go ahead and show you how it works, at least with the enqueue now. I'm gonna go to a controller, to the home controller, right? Well, the home controller is pretty straightforward. On the index here, this is where it shows the main page. I'm gonna call the Hangfire. I'm gonna call the Hangfire logic here. Hangfire logic. Oops. New. This is just for testing purposes, right? So, and then Hangfire logic dot run now. Okay. Actually, this can be done after. It doesn't really matter. Okay. All right. So basically what's going to happen is as soon as the home page, I'm going to put a breakpoint here. So you guys see it. It's going to hit that breakpoint. As soon as I run the project, once the home page comes up, it's going to hit the console. It's going to hit the console write line. It's because the Hangfire, it's scheduling it right away. All right. Let's go ahead and run it. All right. As you can see it ran right away, right? As you can see, it's already on this line. I'm gonna go ahead and click continue. And let's go to Hangfire Dashboard so we can see. So, all right, let's go to let's go to jobs, succeed jobs. So as you guys can see here, right there, print to console, it was done 6.6 seconds ago. So as you can see, the Hangfire did call that function. Okay, now let's create another function here to schedule the same function, the print to console, to run every minute. So let's create another function, void run on schedule. Okay, so instead of using background job, we're going to use recurring. Oops. Hold on. RecurringJob.AddOrUpdate, and we're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna enqueue the function below, oops, the class below with the same function, right? There we go. Oops. Same function. Now the only difference here, you have to enter a time frame, right? So he uses this thing called Cron Expression. I do have a website. I'll show you the website real quick. I go online. It's crontab.guru. So you can go here and set up however you want it to run, right? For example, on this, I want to run every minute. I go into the site. I figured out how to, set up for every minute. There's a lot of different ways you can do every minute, every 2 minutes, every 30 minutes, every day, every 2 hours. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities here. There's a lot of other websites in Google that could actually help you, but I'll link this one in the description below. All right, so this is how it's going to run for every minute, and I'm going to set up for the time zone info, and I want my local time zone. All right, I'm going to show you. So the very first one I showed you was the run out. The run out, it was like right away, right? It ran right away. So I'm going to show you this add-on update. So I'm going to change this to the run out to run on schedule. You see, it's going to take a little longer to run it. I mean, even I'll see if I can bring. No, I can't. So all right. So let's go ahead and run it. I'll show you guys here. I'm going to bring this up. So 7:23 a.m. Let's go ahead and run it. I want to make sure. You see how it hasn't hit yet. Okay. And in order for you, so I put a breakpoint there. Whenever it hits, we will be called. So let's go ahead and bring this up again. And then you see, let's go to the Hangfire dashboard. And you see recurring job, there's a number 1 there, right? What that means is we have a scheduled job to run. On this case, it's going to tell you Eastern time. And if you hover, it's going to say it's going to run every minute. All right, let's give it a second here or two. You should, and it hasn't ran yet. As you can see here, it says last execution. That means NA, right? And next execution, it says in few seconds. So that means it hasn't run yet. All right, let's give it a second here. It should run in a few seconds. Oh, there you go. We got a hit here. You see how we got a hit here? So it took about a minute. Yes, exactly a minute to run. So I go ahead and click continue. So it ran, and if I refresh this page here, it says it ran a few seconds ago, and if you hover, it gives you the exact time what it ran, right? So it's June 7, 2021, 7:41 a.m., which is a minute ago. There you go, and it ran again. Okay, and let's go ahead and again, and then it just ran. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. Oops. So now it's going to say 7:42, and this is when it ran. Okay, so we've done Enqueue, which runs right away. Add an update, which runs with certain time frame in a local zone. I set up the local zone for Eastern time, just so you guys are clear. And then there's more. There's more you can do. It's actually called removed. Of course, I mean the name kind of makes sense, right? But in order to do a remove on run on schedule or add an update, we got to make sure to pass an ID, an identifier, to be able to, when you set it, so you can actually remove based on identifier. All right, so we're going to make a different class here, which should be the same one. So it's going to be run and scheduled ID'd, so we know it has an ID on it, right? So run schedule ID, it's going to pretty much going to be the same one as run on schedule. The only thing is we're gonna put a name here, right? It's gonna be, oops, let's put in a string here, test ID. Let's say if you have an ID, I just put test ID. So this is the name. So I'll show you something real quick here. All right, let's go ahead and run it. You see, oh, you know what, but I have to call it. All right, let's go ahead and go to home and change it. So run unscheduled ID'd, right? So let's go ahead and run it. You see how it's going to look different in Hangfire Dashboard. Oops. It's probably running the old ones that we had there, right? So go ahead and Hangfire Dashboard. So recurring job. Now I have two recurring jobs. You see how this one has test dot the test ID. This is the identifier for this job. If I want to remove it, okay, I could, technically if you're in the Hangfire dashboard, you could go in here and just delete. And it's not gonna happen anymore. It's not gonna be a recurring job anymore, right? But this is not what we want, right? I'll delete this one too, just so we don't. I'll delete this one too. So let's go ahead and set another one here. This one, it's gonna be a remove, okay? On remove, all we have to do is RecurringJob.RemoveIfExists and pass in the ID, which I already have. There we go. In order to test this, I'm gonna do the same thing that I have on home here, but I'm gonna do on values, which is a different controller, just so we can kind of have two different pages that do two different things, and put remove. Okay. But let's go ahead and set this up here. Put it right there. Remove exists. Oops, no, that's not what I wanted. I want it here to make sure, in case if it hits, it stops there. Okay. Let's go ahead and, so my app is running. Let's go ahead and check Hangfire. If I go to recurring job, task ID, it is up and running. Now I'm going to, instead of going to home, I'm going to go to values. It's API/values. So now that we're hitting values here, right? It's going to hit the remove function. All right. So it looks like it got removed. So let's go to the Hangfire. Now, if you see, there's no recurring job. This is what I wanted to show you guys about Hangfire. So basically, with this little example here, we can run an application or run a function right away. We can run a function on schedule based on whatever time frame you want, every day, every 2 hours, every 24 hours, every 36 minutes, every 2 days. I mean, it's all about what you put on the cron expression. Like I mentioned before, I got a website here that's crontab.guru, but you can find a bunch of websites. Just make sure you do Cron Expressions on Google, and you should be able to find all kinds of information there. But if you do have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. And also, we're able to add a run on schedule background task with an ID. With that, you're able to delete as long as you pass that ID back into Hangfire. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, or any suggestions below. And thanks for watching, guys.